Once again, hello YouTube and welcome back to Watches and Wonders. Once again, it's me, Tom, behind the camera. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for checking out my videos. If you'd like to see upcoming videos, upcoming watches, please check out my social medias at watches_wonders on Instagram and watches_wonders on TikTok. You will see little previews, a few more of the actual wonders that I go on. Hopefully we'll be doing a few reviews out in the woods soon, something a little bit different. Hope to capture a few viewers that are also interested in the wonderful outdoors. And today we are looking at a primarily relatively hyped watch from AliExpress. And at first I weren't 100% sure on what I would think about this watch. I'd seen a lot of reviews on it. I weren't sure if it was going to be too small. I weren't sure if people were getting paid to make these reviews. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to pick one up myself and make my decision there. And first impressions, I'm not sure if you can see over this video, but first impressions is of that dial. And all I can say about that dial is, wow, it's amazing. Absolutely stunning. But away from the dial, let me introduce the watch. So in front of us, we have the Addiesdive 2030 or AD2030. And I have decided, now I've seen a lot of people that have bought the sand dune dial. So I decided, just for a change, I'm going to go for what they class as a snow dune dial. Now, I'm not sure if you can see through this video. I may have to get some better lighting just for this section. But look at that dial. It looks just like sand dunes. Now, I'm not going to state the price of this watch until the end, because it has genuinely blown me away with just how good this watch is. Yeah, it really has. It's blown me away. Apologies, you'll notice a light change. I remembered that it'd be probably easier to see the dial of this watch if I actually had my light turned on. Rookie mistake. It is what it is. So, it took me a while to figure out what this watch was homaging, if it was homaging anything, and the closest thing I've been able to find to it so far is actually a Grand Seiko. Now, Seiko, as much as I like to ridicule them on this channel, Seiko is one of my favourite brands. Grand Seiko, personally, is it's probably in my top 5. If I was to get a luxury watch, Grand Seiko would be the one I'd probably go for. Before everyone starts going, you lose all your money the second you step out the shop. I don't do this for money. Don't care for the money. I do this for the love of the watches. I do this for the love of horology and just for the build quality and the story behind the watches. Now, with this, you are looking at almost a sweep in hand. So this is using the VH31. Another Seiko movement. It seems to be that all these movements that I get in these watches are made by Seiko. And that is because I cannot complain about their movements. They are bomb-proof, they are fantastic. Keep good time, seem to work through everything. Now, the VH31 is a non-date movement, ticking 4 ticks per second. Normally, I have seen a few that have actually run slightly fast, and I've seen a few that have run slightly slow, but they are rare to get hold of, which is a good thing. Really, really is, because these movements are solid, and the last thing people want to do is get a very solid movement that a lot of people hype up and then it not work for them. So, looking at this watch, the first thing that stands out is that dial. That dial to me is just beautiful. I think it's absolute perfection. Along with the polished hour indicators and the almost sword-like hour and minute hand. It's class. That's the best thing. I don't see this watch as being an everyday watch. This is a sort of watch that I would probably put on with a suit. Or or if I was going out for a meal somewhere nice with the missus and with the family and stuff like that, this would probably be the watch I'd go for. Would I change it to a leather strap? Now, personally, myself and leather straps don't have a good history with each other. I've got a few leather straps that have mangled on me. With the job I do, leather is not really the strap I would be wanting. But I do have a few laying around, just because every now and then, depending on the colour of the suit, sometimes a leather strap is good. Now, there's something I really do like about this watch that a lot of watches, I believe, need to start doing. It's not sapphire, it is a Harlex crystal, but it is domed with AR coating on it. So, in certain lights, you get, once again, a beautiful shimmer coming from it. No matter how the light hits it, it is very legible. But that double dome, look at that. Rises so much further than the actual bezel of the watch. Now, I know there's a few people that don't like that because they claim it's just going to scratch up the face of the watch. The good thing about the face of this watch is, with it not being sapphire, a lot of the scratches can be polished out. A lot of them. Whereas I think if it does get a few on it, it tells a story. And that's what it all, for myself, that is what I like. I like a story behind my watches. Even the ones that I have that no longer work properly, I keep because there's a story behind it. When my stepdaughter comes up and asks what's wrong with this watch, I can tell her, and I can tell her the full story that comes with it. Now, looking at this, you can see around the bezel, you got a beautifully finished polish. Right, it really is like absolutely stunning. Now, I have seen a few people that have had a few markings on these from where you can see like the factory polishing and stuff like that. But personally myself, from what I've seen so far, besides all of the fingerprints on it, because my watches, as I like to state, do get worn, they do get used for exactly what they are meant to be used for. I've not found, though, personally, any faults at all in this watch. It has been perfect. The crown screws in really nicely. It is only 100 meters, so it's not claiming to be, unlike what the dial states, it isn't actually claiming to be some form of deep sea hunter. It's just a dress watch. It's simple, but it's beautiful in its simplicity. It's really beautiful in its slim. It's a good looking watch. Sometimes I get mixed up with my words. I'm not 100% sure how to edit that out. So there you are, there's a good laugh for you. Now, moving on to the actual watch case and bracelet. So as you can see, it is extremely thin. It is extremely thin. Getting onto the dimensions though, without the crown, this is a 36mm, so it is a smaller watch. It is from lug to lug 46mm, so these watches really will, for men who prefer the slightly smaller watch or have slightly smaller wrists, it's going to fit you perfectly. And for women who also prefer the style of the watch, this will fit your wrists absolutely beautifully. It claims 12 meters thick. 12 millimeters thick. Now, if it was 12 meters, that'd be very surprising. But it's claiming 12 millimeters thick, and that is mainly because of that domed crystal there. Now, it is still a very thin watch. It is still very, very thin, and that is to do with the quartz movement. Quartz movements are much, much, much thinner and can be compact into much slimmer watches. Now, moving on to the crown. We do have a screw down crown, which is signed, which is actually quite nice to see. You don't get many crowns, especially at the price, which I will get onto later on. You don't get many watches with a signed crown. The one little niggle I do have about the dial or shall I say the two little niggles I do have about the dial is, why have they put Deep Sea Hunter on a 100-metre watch? I can't understand it personally. I really, really can't. Along with the Addiesdive logo. Now, I don't personally mind the Addiesdive logo. I think it is a little bit too much, but I don't personally mind it. But on a watch like this, I believe they should have just kept with Addiesdive. Ignore the logo, leave the logo out, leave the Deep Sea Hunter out, and just have Addiesdive. That would have made this watch, for the price, a 10 out of 10. Really would have. There isn't another watch currently around that you can get on the market that is this high quality with this movement for cheaper. You can't. I've gone hunting because I wanted to go hunting so I could do you a comparison video. And the only thing I can find around the same price is a Casio. And I do have the Casio in my collection. I will be bringing it out very, very soon so we can see just what we get for. Technically, this was less. So we're just going to have a comparison against them. And this isn't me bashing Casio. I love Casio. As we get into a few more videos, you will notice just how many G-Shocks I have. Due to my job, G-Shock is the watch of choice for me. Now, moving on to the bracelet. We actually have a 19mm, which can be a little bit awkward at times, but can be found. They really, really can be. All the links are solid. It is a false free link oyster bracelet, but for the price, that is absolutely fine. It conforms to the watch beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. Now, I have seen a few people that have got bracelets where the bracelet is a little bit wiggly and wobbly, and it likes to move around a little bit, but I've not had that problem with this one. The light just keeps catching that dial. Apologies. This is a watch nerd for you. That dial is just stunning. But onto the clasp. So we have. Now this isn't just stamped. This is actually inscribed into the clasp. Once again, something you don't normally get for a watch of this price. But my favourite thing, milled. Now, if you look at the Tandorio I reviewed last time, that had a stamped clasp, and yes, it was using an automatic movement, so I do take that into consideration, I really do. But I do love a milled clasp. Really love a milled clasp. And also, something I don't see on a lot of watches at this price. We have 5 adjustment holes, which will give us an extra, it's almost an extra link and a half. So you will find, most people will find the perfect fit with this watch. They really will. I don't really know how else to describe it other than borderline perfection. Now, I will get out the Casio that was at the same price as this watch, and I'll let you guys decide, looking at them, which one you would say is the best. I'll be back in a minute. And welcome back. So, here we are. Now, I know that this Casio has been hyped. I believe it is the MD500. I could be wrong there. But people, when this Casio came out, people loved it. They really did. It was the bee's knees of Casios. Personally, though, I bought one. I love it. It's a stunning watch. It gets quite a regular wear for myself. But the build quality just isn't there. I'll be honest. Now, this Addiesdive, I will tell you the price. Now, this Addiesdive cost me £28 without VAT and delivery. It was picked out by my nan. It was a watch that she really, really liked when she looked at. So she picked it out for me. Whereas the Casio came in at over 30. I believe it was 35. And for that, you get stamped clasp, pushing, 3 holes of micro adjust, non-signed crown, And unfortunately, it isn't even stainless steel. This is the problem we are currently having with a lot of these watches. Am I going to go back into focus? There we are. Brass. Now, it's got its ups and downs as brass. It can be cheap, manufactured very quickly, but it feels cheap. The clasp feels cheap. Nothing really sits properly. And I understand this is one of Casio's cheaper watches. But when you can see what China is doing with these Addiesdives for the price that they are doing them at, it's just phenomenal. It really is. Like, I don't really know what else to say. I really don't. But it's a decision for you guys to make. Casio have a massive, massive history and massive, massive impact on the watch world. They are one of the most recognisable brands in the world of watches. If not actually the most recognisable brand. I remember my first Casio I got probably back when I was around 9 or 10. And it is a watch brand that has stayed with me my entire life. From G-Shocks to normal Casios to the famous F91W. It's something that we should be very happy that have stayed at the lower prices, but maybe they should start looking into moving away from the brass, starting to get onto the steel. Now, there will be no loom shot this time because the Addiesdive doesn't have any loom to it. It is more of a dress watch. But hopefully you have enjoyed this review, and I will see you here next time for the... Oh, how do I say this? Rolex Daytona homage. Thank you very much. It's been Tom from Watches and Wonders. Hope to see you next time, and goodbye.